Thank you to the Cube for being here tonight. We're still in deep stealth mode, and this is a sneak preview of HubTropolis, a space for humanity to not just survive, but to thrive with sustainable abundance. Until now, the narrative was one of sustainability or abundance. In the next 20 minutes, we will give you a glimpse of the future that reconciles both sustainability and abundance. Join us as we reimagine urban existence from first principles using the basic building blocks of reality: energy, space, and time. Imagine the year 2042. Imagine yourself in a better place. Imagine yourself in a better future. Imagine sustainable abundance. Now, open your eyes and join us as we embark on the journey back to that future. We call it HubTropolis, the home of 40 million, reimagined and iterated in our reality simulator. Then 10 years from now, HubTropolis will rise in harmony with nature from open wilderness. This adventure has begun, so please fasten your seatbelts and open your minds. The HubTropolis core team. A dream without a team is just a dream. A power team who believe in a dream is just 9 iterations away from reality. Our power team is composed of visionaries, engineers, programmers who are building HubTropolis. I could wax on eloquently about degrees and CVs, business awards, and execution excellence. However, it all pales in comparison to our pure passion and strength through our synergy of skills. You will be meeting 4 of us presenting here tonight. Wayne Morris, top left, our Chief Executive Officer, who has played a vital part in the creation of the new dynamic South Africa through his tireless championing of equity, working alongside the icon Nelson Mandela. Diana Bernal, to his right, our Chief Reality Architect. She leads our journey from vision through simulation to reality with positive environmental and social impact. And Mark Moores, to the right of Diana, our Chief Financial Officer, who focuses on sustainability, education, and blockchains as tools for triple entry accounting and asset-backed self-sovereign currency. I am Jerry Arb, creative, thought catalyst, and founder of HubTropolis. It is my job to corral our visions into one reality. Over to you, Wayne. Thank you.
Thanks, Jerry. I think when talking about the future, we need to begin with where we are. We live in a world that is clearly unsustainable, environmentally, economically, and socially. A new vision is required, not a talk shop, a doing, a creating. We need to bridge the gap between the current path to a sustainable future. We need to make the possible inevitable. HubTropolis is that future. The 3-step path to HubTropolis is before you: ideation, the imagining; simulation, the practicing; creation, the building. I would like to go into each of these 3 steps in a bit of detail before allowing Diana and Jerry to do a deep dive into the heart of HubTropolis. Ideation. What you see before you is the future HubTropolis as imagined by our team. The engineering viability of the structure is confirmed. You see 19 hubs, a city 200 kilometers wide, with 90% of its living space open to nature. We have worked on solutions in transportation, building, healthcare, etc. You are invited to join us in creating future solutions. We will create this future together through advanced simulation. Simulation. We can test our ideas for the future in a virtual reality based on the laws of physics. This worldwide cooperation and collaboration will happen at no cost and with no environmental damage. Thus, many iterations are possible and, in fact, encouraged. Design your own space in HubTropolis. Bring your friends and designers to the table to assist in creating your future. Contribute to the design of your city. Be part of our team in creating this future. Creation. HubTropolis goes live. In 13 years' time, the first pioneer citizens move into the first HubTropolis. You will have created your own home and your own city, a city designed for sustainable abundance. HubTropolis is within reach. As a famous South African president once said, it always seems impossible until it's done.
Thank you, Wayne. The city reimagined. Every key component of a city is being reimagined from fundamental first principles and will be given a life of their own. We have identified 6 key areas that pioneers will be joining to raise the bar of our design specifications and first example solutions. This will lead to iterations and circulation of technologies that raise living standards around the world. Let's now dive into our first example solutions for each of these 6 key areas.
Rapid travel. We needed to unthink what used to be known as cars and roads, and above all, the use of space itself. We had been gifted with a new generation of technologies to reimagine mobility from first building blocks like electric vehicles, autonomous vehicles, and the Hyperloop. Through this, we have reached first example solutions that enable the following. Firstly, we can travel smoothly from anywhere to anywhere in 15 minutes across the 200-kilometer wide city in your very own private customizable luxury pod. Secondly, no more stopping. Traffic is separated from pedestrian levels and flows freely with no stop or traffic lights. It is full 3D mobility. Thirdly, point-to-point on-demand delivery. Autonomous point-to-point package delivery for 1 cent per kilogram. To put that in real perspective, that's $1 for 100 kilograms. Lastly, and most importantly, mobility is fun again. Traveling locally is fun, from bikes to powerboards and pogo sticks on demand. And you can walk or roll anywhere. Let your kid walk to school without worrying about being run over a bus, because there is no more bus crossing the road. In less than 10 minutes, you can roll across a hub, and less than 1 hour to walk anywhere. That is true, beautiful mobility. Thank you.
Built with nature. There was once a wise boxer called Muhammad Ali who said, "It is not the deer that is crossing the road. Rather, it's the road that is crossing the forest." HubTropolis is built within and at one with nature, meaning nature is left to flow. As Wayne mentioned, 90% of the total space of the city remains open with nature free to flow between the populated 19 hubs. This creates a safe space for species, as we have the ability to recreate habitats and provide that safe space for nature, protecting it from poachers and exploitation. Approaching zero pollution. HubTropolis has a near zero waste requirement, as the air, land, and water are preserved for our future generations. And lastly, within a sub-hub, you are never more than 5 minutes away from each other.
Energy. The ever-increasing efficient and effective use of energy and its abundant supply is what has enabled modern civilization. At HubTropolis, we will accelerate this trend. At the same time, we will massively reduce the environmental impacts of that energy production. With the storage, use, and generation of energy being rethought from first principles, new opportunities present themselves, as a result of which the cost of energy is reduced vastly compared to today. As a result of which, products cost less, everything cheaper and more efficient, since there are embedded energy costs in all goods and services. Furthermore, there's an always-on guarantee. No need for backup systems and multiple redundancies. This is because of the new way the energy network will work. And most importantly, this is all achieved with a massively lower CO2 emission. We reduce the burning of fossil fuels down to near zero, except for barbecues and other smaller fun activities. Thank you.
Dynamic design. By unimagining the legacy of the legacy two-dimensional structures of cities and reimagining mobility and life itself as three-dimensional, we can create much more space per person without traffic jams or taking over nature. Our first example solutions allow for three-dimensional life, meaning three separate mobility layers stacked vertically with the fun and life layer on top, enabling double the living space of a modern city dweller. Second, take your favorite room with you from bedroom to boardroom. Up until now, cars are only used for around 5% of their lifetime. In HubTropolis, cars are pods, and your pod space is part of your house space. You can customize it to your preference as a mobile office, entertainment space, relaxation station, or whatever you prefer, which means you can travel in your pod from wherever you want within HubTropolis in comfort. We also have easily configurable buildings with our snap-to-build technology and 3D printing building materials on tap, reducing costs and minimizing construction times. All of these combined, enabling a superior and more dynamic way of life.
Data flow. From fiber optic networking to pervasive Wi-Fi and local low latency server farms, they all have two things in common. Years of intelligence coding and big capex upfront. Beyond that, it's just a beautiful machine that runs on a bit of administration and a few drops of energy. In parallel to this, it is apparent that abundant availability of high-speed, reliable data is essential to the future of modern life, from oiling the wheels of commerce to making new forms of education possible. This combination of upfront capex and low running costs is similar to that required for sustainable, abundant energy. And in conventional legacy theory, both should be charged for. However, at HubTropolis, we have chosen to make data free and at the same time charge slightly more for energy, thus encouraging the free flow of data whilst rewarding the saving of energy. This disruption of the current information and telecommunications industry will deserve a separate presentation. Suffice it to say that we will have near zero lag with free data, an open, trust, and live data system. You own your own data, backed up with self-sovereign identity and quantum secure encryption.
Sustained wellness. As technologies we develop spread, we have the opportunity to improve our lives, the lives of our children, and the lives of everyone on Earth. Our first example solutions in sustained wellness provide low stress and low pollution, meaning less hamster wheel work, more leisure space, pure water, fresh farm produce, and clean air, which all lead to a longer and happier life. Enjoyable healthcare, putting an emphasis on the enjoyable, a human-focused experience over the traditional function-focused experience that we see today in healthcare. Prevention and early treatment centered. Our healthcare wellness system mitigates illnesses using AI health monitoring, where the aim is preventing rather than monetizing the cure. Dummy tested design, meaning safety is built into HubTropolis design, reducing random accidents. Safety helps shape not just the initial, but also the future of the city. And last but not least, our education system, which empowers children and adults alike to find their desired area of contribution to the world. Overall, to give you a better quality of life.
Where? The question is always, but where are you going to build it? Well, this globe shows some of the possible 1,000-kilometer circles that could contain the 200-kilometer wide HubTropolis. 27 of them, in fact. Which one do we choose? Once we have a complete picture of the favorability of different areas in terms of geopolitics, terrain, climate, renewable energy potential, history of natural disasters, it will be up to us as space holders to decide over the next 5 years where that location will be. We will hold a competition where governments and regions compete for our favor. What can they offer us to welcome HubTropolis? This is not unusual. There are special economic and political zones in many countries across the world seeking to attract foreign investment, inward investment. We will be a powerful socioeconomic force in their region, 40 million people with a high disposable income and attracting high-tech industries.
Thank you, Jerry. This leads us to a count back from the future, starting in 2042 when we reach sustainable abundance. That's our optimum population to whom we provide a superior quality of life whilst delivering positive environmental and social impacts. 2034, HubTropolis is ready for occupation. I hope to be welcoming you in 2034 as the first citizens start moving in. A time when the efforts of building and creating switch to the big question of what are we going to do with our free time and energy. 2030, assembly of HubTropolis begins. The point where all the crowdsourcing and open innovation for technologies comes together and we start to see all the key areas of development merge into one city. 2026, HubTropolis location final contest. As Jerry mentioned, we will go from 9 zones to 6 to 3 to 1. The winner location of our contest will be announced. 2024 VR HubTropolis. We'll see a big increase in the number of space holders as our virtual reality simulator starts to grow in popularity as a testing bed not only for new technologies but the future in general. 2023, 9 innovation hubs, our next big milestone. 1 innovation hub per zone with the focus on the development and circulation of our first example solutions to build credibility in international relations. In 2021, where we are today, the moment we start co-founding that future possibility. Over to Mark, our CFO, for a deep dive into the concept of space and how you can take part.
Thank you, Diana. So at this stage, we're looking to raise $1 million. The use of funds is shown in brief on the table to the right, but the key immediate progress we want to make is set up a public AG company and a foundation in Zug, Switzerland. The foundation will reserve adequate funds to purchase the land needed for HubTropolis and invest those funds in low-risk investments. Also, during the development of HubTropolis, we've identified many innovations that can redefine cities across the world. We will begin protecting these innovations immediately so that we can start companies dedicated to developing the technology. We will establish our first innovation hub. We have an amazing opportunity to use a 23-acre ranch owned by a non-profit organization aligned with our values for free, with an option to buy it under market value. And one of our first technological spin-out companies will be based on augmented reality. And we are going to demo that technology at our Dubai High Cubed event in the first week of November, to which all investors will have an exclusive invitation. Together, our initial steps capitalize several $1 million of embedded but unrealized value in HubTropolis and give us the opportunity to raise subsequent funding rounds at a multiple of today's level, which means an immediate gain for investors today. the value trilogy. So what is the HubTropolis value trilogy? Founder investors will receive value as usual. You'll receive value now as a shareholding. This will allow you to participate in the value created by the technologies we are pioneering for cities across the world. Additionally, you'll receive value as a space for property in HubTropolis, the future city. And before that, as a digital twin of that space in the virtual reality simulation of HubTropolis, thus allowing you to participate in the iteration of HubTropolis's architecture, governance, economy, and society. So, expanding on the value trilogy. Your immediate value is through equity shares in HubTropolis AG and the intellectual property it generates, protects, and tests through its innovation hubs. Most of the final realized investment gains will be through the increase in land value as HubTropolis is built from open wilderness to a metropolis that embodies the best of future technology and efficiency for quality of life. The gain forecast is over 3,000 times the level of your investment today. The second source of value begins in 2024 with the virtual reality simulation of HubTropolis. We will use it to test construction techniques, evaluate locations, design individual houses, and test societal organizing principles. You will have a voice in designing the place in which you will live. The land in HubTropolis is measured in terms of space, where one space is 25 meters squared, or 269 square feet, equivalent to the minimum size we anticipate for a hotel room, and setting a minimum on the unit of space available to be sold. This space varies by a factor that depends on its type. So for instance, a penthouse would be more costly in terms of space than a warehouse. Each 25 meters squared of space is linked to one share in the corporation. The share is attached to the space. So if you sell the space, the share has to follow it to the purchaser. So all shareholders of HubTropolis will also be space holders in the future city, and hence goals and values will be more aligned than in traditional companies. Shareholders will have skin in the game of the city. So what do you get for your investment today? Each $10,000 investment will buy 4,000 shares in HubTropolis AG, which represent also 4,000 spaces in the future HubTropolis, subject to exchange rates. This is about 25 acres and will come with enabling infrastructure. All that will be needed is exterior walls and interior decoration. This will significantly reduce the cost of building over a standard empty plot. You can begin designing your space in VR and test many different designs, even living in them within the virtual environment before locking in on one to build. You can mix and match your space for different usage. For instance, you might have a ranch style home on the edge of a hub, a penthouse in the central hub, and some business offices. For investing at this stage, there will be special bonuses for founder investors. You will receive 2 free tickets to our exclusive Dubai High Cubed event, more on that later. You will receive a framed holographic land title certificate representing your space in HubTropolis. And if you recall, the funds to buy the land are reserved in low-risk investments in the Swiss Foundation. You will also receive naming rights to a civic space of your choice, a park or a plaza or a public building, so your name is recorded as a founder for posterity. This investment round will close after we raise $1 million, and the offer is limited to a maximum investment of $100,000. Going forwards, across all investment rounds, there will be a maximum holding of 1% of the space in HubTropolis for any individual, and that includes the team. I encourage you to invest now, as space in HubTropolis will never be this cheap again. Now, I would like to hand you over to our visionary founder, Jerry, who will show you exactly what your space in HubTropolis could be.
Now for the fun part, choosing your space, and you get a large amount for $10,000. HubTropolis reimagines traditional city zoning into 3 dimensions, building upwards, not ever outwards. Different space designed, a variable value. For instance, a penthouse costs more than the factory. People will, of course, live on the upper layers, but clever design will let natural sunlight permeate throughout the structure. So what will you decide on? A warehouse, a farmhouse, or a penthouse? Why not all 3 and more? You could have a factory on a industrial layer, the size of 30 football pitches. Then directly above, or vertical zoning, you have your factory with vertical goods transport that could be 6 football pitches. Above that, on the upper level, you could have a huge store selling the goods, the size of 3 football pitches. And finally, after a hard day's work, you head back to your luxurious penthouse, which can be well over the size of 1 entire football pitch. So that is 40 football pitches of various spaces for $10,000, which is why we've put a maximum investment cap of $100,000 on this. HubTropolis High Cubed. On the 1st of November, we will be exiting Deep Stealth at a high cube pitch and after party held at the top of the Burj Khalifa in Dubai, the highest building in the world by far. All founders are invited and will receive free tickets for you and the guest. We look forward to giving you a sneak preview of some of the innovative new technologies. Why Dubai? Well, I am there a week before with our sister organization Nexus Aurora, presenting a paper on the future of gravity in space at the International Space Week, where BBM, Bezos, Branson, and Musk will also be there. And so, of course, will HubTropolis and hopefully you. By the way, with Nexus Aurora, we won the Musk 1 million people Mars City State competition, October 2020. If you can't make it to Dubai, and we realize it is short notice, then we could beam you in using our augmented reality technology, Holograph X. So whether in person or in eye, we hope to see you there. Be there or beam in. Thank you very much for your time.